market segments, ranging from startups to SMBs, enterprise, and public sector. So we'll be talking about cost optimization and how various businesses can actually tap into this knowledge in reducing costs to a minimal level, changing the way they tend to do businesses, and also leveraging on artificial intelligence and machine learning. We will also be going into several areas where they could actually leverage on various resources on AWS in order to change the way they do businesses. Thank you.
Fantastic. So this is where I become a student once again, and I'm always glad to be a student. And so here's where I'm going to sit back and just hand over to you, so you take us through how the cloud space is going to materialize all through the year. Okay, over to you, Israel.
All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity once again. So we'll be delving deeper into cloud cost and financial management for 2025 outlook for various businesses in Africa. So I would actually like to welcome on our, we'll be diving into strategies that we could use to manage cloud cost, financial trends for 2025, and real life success stories. So this session is going to be packed with insights, which has actually been designed for startup, enterprises, and financial leaders alike. So please feel free to post your questions in the questions and answer section as we go along. So let's get into it. So this is actually the overview. We've already talked about who Israel is. We've also talked about CloudPlexo. So now let's quickly go to why costs are cloud cost management really. Second, please. So talking about why cloud cost management is very critical in 2025. Africa is really experiencing an incredible surge in cloud adoption, a whopping 35% projected growth by this same 2025. And with this growth, it actually comes with a whole lot of challenges, balancing performance and cost efficiency, whether you're a startup scaling or operations or on and established enterprises, optimizing IT expenses. Cloud financial management is more relevant than ever. If we should actually look at what has been happening in the past, most enterprises, most organizations tend to have what we call the on-premises, where they tend to do a whole lot of investments when it comes to hardware and all of that. And these could be very capital intensive for most of all of these organizations. So now there's already a paradigm shift where most organizations, instead of investing heavily in all of these on-premises, are now deciding to move into the cloud. So we will actually be delving into how we can leverage on the cloud, whether we are startups, scaling operation, or established enterprises, optimizing IT expenses. Cloud financial management is more relevant than ever. So today, we'll explore how you can harness these tools, strategies, and also best practices to turn cloud expenses into a competitive advantage. So introducing cloud cost optimization with AWS. I'm sure that most of us must have heard about AWS. As a matter of fact, we have several CSPs, but why have we actually decided to go with AWS? It's simply because they are number one in the world. And to talk a little bit more, cloud computing offers unmatched scalability and flexibility, but without proper cost management, expenses can definitely spiral out of control. For organization leveraging AWS cloud cost optimization, it's not just about cutting costs, it's about maximizing value for every dollar spent while maintaining performance and scalability. What is cloud cost optimization? We really need to understand what it's all about. So cloud cost optimization is actually the process of analyzing and improving cloud usage to minimize waste and align spendings with business objectives. So with AWS, this means leveraging tools, strategies, and services to ensure that your infrastructure actually operates efficiently while staying within your budget, as in you can easily tailor your budget compared to when you are still on premises, you have to get all of the hardwares. But with this, you have the option of deciding that this is the portion I want to go for, and then you tailor it to match your business objective. So one of the best practices for cloud cost optimization with AWS, the first one I'll really be happy to talk about is right-sizing resources. So continuously monitoring and adjust your resources is very, very essential. So we will be talking about compute, storage, and database resources to ensure that you are not over provisioning. So AWS services like Trusted Advisor and Cost Explorer provide insights into underutilized or over provisioned resources. So let's quickly go to understanding what these cloud cost drivers is actually all about. So understanding this is very, very key. For most organizations that are already used to the on-premises, they really, really need to understand the underlying parameters when it comes to cloud. So I will simply be delving into what cloud cost drivers are actually all about. So before jumping into cost optimization strategy, it is really, really crucial for organizations to grasp where cloud expenses are really originating from. So knowing the cost breakdown really gives you that an ability for you to be able to make a kind of an informed decision on where to optimize without negatively impacting performance or functionality. So primary cost categories. We have to also talk about costs, which are typically categorized into four main drivers. So when migrating to the cloud, you have to understand the first one, which is compute, the second one, which is storage, the third one, networking, and also databases. So each of these contributes significantly to your cloud bill. So let's dive into all of these terms. So the first one is the compute cost. So what this really involves is compute services primarily called Amazon EC2. This is Elastic Compute Cloud, and these are actually the backbone of cloud workloads. So the cost structure, cost actually varies on the type of EC2 instances you decide to select. For instance, this is where the expertise of CloudPlexo will be coming in. You don't just assume that you want to leverage on EC2. What exactly is your business model? What exactly is the problem you are trying to solve? For instance, it's a total different ball game when you are still on premises, but when you are coming into the cloud, whatever you configure on the cloud, that is exactly what you tend to pay for. So the kind of EC2 instances you will be leveraging on has to be tailored, as we have series of EC2s. We have like T2 micro, T5 large, and these actually comes in different variation of cost. So whatever you are actually making use of, it has to be ensured that none of these resources are either over provisioned or under provisioned. And when it also comes to utilization rate, for instance, when you are still on premises, you could have a bigger CPU, the size of the RAM, and all that. But what is the utilization rate of the configurations you have? When it comes to cloud, you have to be very, very specific on all of these resources you are leveraging on. Utilization rate for you to reduce your cost to a minimal level has to be a minimum of 80 to 85%. And if the need arises for you to scale up, you can easily initiate the serverless instances that can easily scale up, meet all of those requests. And as soon as those requests are being met, it scales down in order for you to reduce cost. So the billing model are actually based on usage. It's based on hours or seconds, depending on the instance type that you have decided to opt for. So scaling, over provisioning resources or not leveraging auto scaling can actually lead to unnecessary costs. And these are also some of the things that you need to put into consideration before deciding the kind of resources you'll be leveraging on AWS. For example, running an M5 large instances for 24 hours incurs more costs compared to running a T3 medium for about 12 hours. So one other thing we also have to look at is your storage. For instance, when you are still on premises, it's never possible for you to say you just want to get a storage. You need to get the complete system, which includes the CPU, the size of the storage, and everything. But on AWS, if it is the storage you are tending to go for, you can specifically go for that. So when it comes to data storage, services such as Amazon S3, we also have EBS. It's called Elastic Block Storage. We also have what we also call glaciers. I will be going into that. So cost actually increases as you store more data in all of these choices that you have made. And when it also comes to data retrieval, retrieving data for certain storage classes like S3 glacier incurs additional fees. So we also have what we call different storage class. So for different storage class, we have like S3 tiers, standard, intelligent tiering, and also glaciers. These have varying costs depending on the performance and retrieval times. For instance, let me cite a real life scenario. For people that are working in the FSI sector, let's say your normal banking transaction, you want to check real time balances and all of this. All of these data are being stored in a particular place. So when you call on all of this, you retrieve that information for you in real time. But when it comes to transaction that has actually been conducted, the banking policy actually permits you to have a particular set of data for some number of period of years. So those data are not actually being visited on day-to-day activities. One can easily leverage on the glacier form of storage, whereby you only check those data maybe once in every month, or once in every 3 months, or once in every 6 months, maybe for audit purposes and all of that. So that actually reduces your cost. But when it comes to you retrieving data in real time from those storage, can actually generate higher costs. So in all of this, our expertise will be coming in to help you configure a very perfect workload on AWS that will give you the minimum possible cost you can ever have on the cloud. So when it also comes to data transfer between AWS services out to the internet or across region, these can also generate a whole lot of cost. So transferring data between availability zone, region, or external networks incurs additional charges. These are also the things that one actually has to look into. For instance, when you're having your availability zones, it's really more cost effective for you to have your availability zone between regions. Let's say you are leveraging on South Africa. Throughout the whole configurations, anything you are configuring has to be within that region. But if you decided to pick, like, let's say by default, you picked on South Africa, and then maybe the next configuration you are doing, you decided to leverage maybe on London region. So moving data between South Africa and London region would actually generate more cost for you. So this is also where our expertise also comes in to ensure that the configuration is being configured in such a way that your cost will be reduced to a minimal level. The other thing that also generates cost is bandwidth usage. So higher bandwidth usage also result in increased cost. Optimization. We also have to ensure that we keep data transfers within the same region or leverage AWS Direct Connect for cost-effective, high bandwidth connectivity. For example, when you are transferring around 10 gigabytes of data between regions, it's significantly more expensive than within the same region. So managed database services like Amazon RDS, DynamoDB, and Aurora. So for instances like this, similar to EC2, database instances have different pricing based on size and type. So for instance, if you are trying to read and write on a particular database, operation in services like this, let's say DynamoDB, also incur charges. So you have to be very, very specific in the kind of read or write functions you are trying to perform. So this is also where the expertise of CloudPlexo comes into action to ensure that all of these are being configured for you so that you will experience longevity in the cloud. Because it's very, very obvious in a day especially in the past 3 to 4 years. You see a whole lot of enterprise, they are super excited about moving from on-premises or maybe from anywhere. They've been leveraging their data to AWS because they know that it has more functionalities. You can even automate all of your processes. And considering these are age, artificial intelligence and machine learning is really taking over a whole lot of things that we tend to do on our day-to-day activities, which are repetitive, can easily be automated. So you leverage on the AI to perform all of these functions for you. And it's also a way of reducing cost. So as I was saying, so running a highly available RDS database across multiple AZs can be more expensive but ensure better reliability. So by breaking cost into these categories, you can easily pinpoint areas where you can easily reduce cost. So in terms of compute, you can also tend to right size instances, leverage on spot instances or reserved instances. As a matter of fact, you can even get up to 72% of the normal cost you are supposed to be spending when you tend to leverage on reserved instances. In terms of storage too, you can also tend to use the right S3 tier for your data needs, which you can easily archive infrequently based on the number of times you tend to access those data. So in terms of networking, you can also reduce interregion data transfers in ensuring that all of this is being configured in the right manner. So for databases, you can also ensure that you optimize your read or write operations and select appropriate instance types. So understanding these cost drivers is really the foundation of effective financial management by ensuring that you identify the major contributors to your AWS bill. You can also take targeted actions to ensure that you reduce that cost without sacrificing performance or scalability. So these insights actually set the stage for optimization strategies, which we'll be discussing next. So this structure actually tends to break down all of this and makes it easier for you to grab the key components of cloud cost management and prepares you for actionable steps that we will be discussing in the next slide. So I briefly talked about AI. Imagine having a system that predicts cost spikes before they actually happen. Yes, this is really possible. And this is where you can easily leverage on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So AI-driven insight can easily forecast trends, identify underutilized resources, and also automate your cost controls. For instance, an AI system can easily send an alert when your storage usage has already exceeded your budget that you have set limits on, or automatically scale instances during low traffic periods. So this proactive approach has really helped a whole lot of business save as much as 20% on their monthly storage cost. And it's like having a financial institution for your cloud. For instance, we CloudPlexo being one of the advanced consulting and technology partner, and our major aims and goal is for us to see various organizations reduce cost to a minimal level, leverage on artificial intelligence. So we have a cloud native application called Wendo. That Wendo gives you that an ability for you to be able to view all of your resources in real time. So for instance, if you have any idle resources that can actually lead to you to start spending extra cost in the cloud, it sends you an automated alert and you can easily stop those instances in real time. All of these idle resources, the moment you stop it, certainly you are going to get more cost reduction in your operations. So let's talk about different strategies. We'll be diving first into our first optimization strategy, which is right sizing resources. So this means matching your resources to your actual workload. Often businesses over provision resources, and to avoid outages, this can really lead to unnecessary costs in the cloud. So tools like AWS Trusted Advisor can easily analyze your usage patterns and recommend changes. So with this, if it actually studies that these are the things you are using, it gives you recommendation which you can continuously iterate to continuously bring down your cost. So for example, if large EC2 instances is underutilized, the next step you should be thinking about is downsizing to a smaller one, which will save significant costs while maintaining performance. So this is the first strategy, which is the right sizing, to ensure that there is nothing like over provisioning of your resources. Because let's say the resources you are leveraging on, the utilization rate is not up to 50 or 60%. So certainly you should be thinking of downsizing it in order to reduce your cost for you drastically in the cloud. So the second one I'll be talking about is the savings plan. So for this, you really have to plan on how you can commit to specific amount of usage over 1 or 3 year exchange for discounted rate of up to 72%. So for instance, instead of paying for the pay as you go, imagine you having a 72% reduction. For me, I believe that is actually very huge. And we've been able to help a whole lot of organizations, starting from startups to SMBs, enterprises, public sector, government parastatals, in leveraging on this in order for them to be able to reduce costs to a minimal amount. So it's like buying in bulk to reduce your cloud costs. So at CloudPlexo, we help clients evaluate their usage patterns and select the plans that maximize savings without locking them into rigid commitments. So this strategy is really perfect for businesses with predictable workload. So let's go to the third strategy. So for the third strategy, so now let's deep dive into the FinOps integration. So in 2025, as businesses across Africa scale their digital transformation journey, cloud adoption will certainly continue to grow. It will certainly continue to evolve. So, however, with this growth comes real challenges of managing this cloud cost. So, this is where FinOps or financial operation emerges as a very big game changer. So, what is cloud? What is financial operation? So, financial operation at its core is the practice of bridging the gap between finance, IT, and operation teams to ensure a unified approach to cloud cost management. It's also about fostering collaboration, building transparency, and driving smarter financial decisions. So, in essence, clean up transform cloud cost management from reactive process into a proactive team-based approach. So let me break this down further into three fundamental pillars of FinOps. So the first one is collaboration. Collaboration can never be overemphasized. It's actually the foundation of IT. Imagine all your IT teams, finance, operation, working together instead of working in silos as it used to be. Operation are having different budgets. The IT having a different budget, and they keep operating in silos. And this actually makes the whole work process to be very, very cumbersome. So working together actually promotes that kind of synergy, ensuring that everyone speaks the same language when it comes to cloud cost. So it also aligns priorities, fosters understanding, and also eliminates conflict over budget ownership or cost allocation. The second one I would like to talk about is visibility, which is the second pillar of FinOps. And this really ensures that every stakeholder has in real-time access to cost data. Think about a unified dashboard that provides granular insight into where your cloud spending is going. It's no longer about waiting for monthly reports, maybe waiting to get from one department about your cloud spending and all of that. Instead, you are empowered with instant insight to take immediate action. So all of these can actually be viewed on your billing menu on AWS, where you can see in real time your real usage, and you can be proactive about this in trying to tweak it in order for you not to exceed the set budget. So the second one I would like to talk about is for the optimization, where FinOps truly, truly shines. So it's not just about understanding cost, is about continuously refining and improving cloud usage to align it with business goals. So whether it's right-sizing resources, negotiating better contracts, or automating cost savings mechanism. So optimization is actually an ongoing iterative process. So imagine this scenario. Your company has unified FinOps dashboard. Finance can see projected cloud expenses. IT gets alert on underutilized resources, and operation can identify cost-saving opportunities in real time. So certainly, everyone would definitely be accountable in making real-time decisions about all of this information, leveraging on data-driven decisions, and the organization will certainly save significantly without compromising performance. So this is the power of FinOps. It creates a kind of a culture of accountability. It enables continuous improvement, and it also transforms how businesses tend to view and manage cloud costs. So in this 2025, I believe that FinOps is not just a nice to have, it's actually a strategic necessity. So as an African businesses navigate the complexities of cloud adoption, integrating FinOps will be key of staying competitive while remaining agile and financially efficient. So let's embrace FinOps as the cornerstone of cloud cost management, because collaboration, visibility, and optimization aren't just ideals. They are the tools that shape the future of businesses in Africa. So let's now go to real case scenarios when we are talking about success stories that we have in Africa. I remember a particular company that actually approached us at then. They were spending off the roof on their IT infrastructure, and business continuity was actually something that is no longer visible for them. So, on reaching out to us, they actually told us that they are spending so much in the cloud and they are looking for ways where they could possibly reduce the cost. So, what our technical team actually did was they delved deeper to understand all of the workload that they had already configured. In the cloud, they were on a separate tier space, but the bills keep ramping up. And this is very synonymous in most businesses as of today. So on delving deeper, we actually noticed that the utilization rate they had, the highest they had was around 8%. They have as low as 3%, 5%, while the highest was 8%. So what our team actually does is they conducted a well-architected review. They did apple for apple comparison, and they decided to move what we call lift and shift from that TFP fully to AWS. And they now went into re-architecting of those solutions. Most of the solutions applications that were built, they actually adopted the monolithic architecture in the essence that everything is being coupled together. For instance, we usually have this experience in the banking sector in the past where you are trying to access your mobile banking and you have a very urgent need to do. Maybe after when you have tried several times, you will be like, this is serious. You have to go straight to the bank to go and fill in forms and all of that, because how the monolithic architecture is being built is the front end, the back end, and the database are being coupled together. So if a particular segment in that application is down, it affects both the front end, the back end, and even the database. So the tech behind AWS is leveraging on what we call microservices architecture, where the front end is being broken down into several blocks. Same thing for the back end too, and also for the database. This is why AWS has that an ability for them to be able to have an uptime availability of 99.999. That 0.999 is in 12 places. So there is always an uptime. So what our company does is they converted all of their monolithic architecture to microservices. They did re-architecting of those solutions, ensuring that all of the resources they have utilizing on AWS has a minimum utilization rate of 80 to 85%. So with this, were able to achieve 42% reduction in cloud cost and also 30% increase in scalability, because we had already converted the monolithic architecture to microservices. So that gave all of the applications that an ability for them to be able to scale at the click of a button. And they were also able to experience around 53% faster time to market, helping them innovate smarter. So with that, they had that fresh hope of business continuity. So the other use case I would really like to talk about is one of the FSIs that we actually write to help migrate their workload from on-premises to AWS. Despite the fact that there are several regulatory compliance and all of that, um, the regulation is all of the sensitive data remain in that country, that it must not leave the shores of those countries. So this has to be adhered to. So what our team actually did was they tend to leverage on the local zone in ensuring that all of those data remain in that country. So regarding the local zone, I have a solutions architect as he has been introduced to us. And fortunate enough, he had the opportunity to work on one of these biggest FSI in that country. So he will be talking briefly on local zone. So Mr. Oyetunji, quickly help us talk a little bit more on local zone for the FSI that we help migrate from on-premises fully to the cloud. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Mr. Israel, for the presentation. So, most of the enterprise at times they have data residency policy, whereby all your data must reside in the country that they stay. So that's why AWS has a local zone apart from the region and availability zone. So on this local zone, whereby we can deploy the application if there is a data residency policy. So what we've done is to migrate the application directly from the on-prem to AWS. Then we monitor the server for like 1 or 2 months. Then we're able to see the metrics of how the utilization of the server is going. So I can remember then that we could see that the server was around 80%, 8%. Then we just have to like downsize the server to a minimum, I mean, to the minimum instance type. So we use that to reduce the cost of running that application on AWS. So then they were paying up to like I think $10,000. Then we were able to reduce the cost by 70%. That means they are paying like $3,000 plus. Now, as we are able to like review the metrics of that server on the cloud, and they are getting benefits for what they are paying for on the cloud. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that detailed explanation. So with what the technical team actually did, that gave us that an ability for us to be able to adhere by 100% to the compliance of that country in terms of their regulatory requirements. And they also had that an ability to increase by 25% in their IT team productivity, which actually helped them in their cloud operations, allowing IT teams to focus on strategic initiatives. We also had that an ability to achieve 40% improvement in data analytics and performance, and these actually went a very long way for them. So these are the strides we are currently making on the continent, and we are really looking forward to making more impact in terms of helping various organizations innovate smarter, reduce their time to market, and most importantly, our topic for today, in ensuring that we reduce their cost to a minimal level. So for 2025, looking ahead to 2025, we have four key trends which I believe will be shaping the cloud financial management. The first one is the AI and machine learning, which will certainly play an even greater role in cost prediction and automation. For instance, for the bank, it can easily they can easily automate fraud detection and all of that, automating documents, and this is just the beginning. So I believe that these would actually keep on modernizing the way they tend to operate on their day-to-day activities. And even now, AI is actually something that, if being leveraged on, it's going to change the way businesses are being run on our day-to-day activities. I could remember some banks that are leveraging on on instances of their customer service where um, when any customers that are looking for a particular information, or maybe they made a transfer, it hasn't gotten to where it's going and they've been debited and all of that. It could resolve all of this issue by the customer just typing into a single line of human interface, which is called the natural language. And it responds to them and help them solve that problem in real time because it's already connected to the ERP system of that bank. So this is the level at which AI is actually going. For instance, when it also comes to account opening or having a particular problem to resolve, all of this can be automated. So that is exactly one of the stuff that I believe will be changing our financial trend for 2025. The second one is actually the governance framework, which I believe would actually be tightened in the sense that some regulatory compliance saying they really have to leverage as much as possible in ensuring that all of this data keeps residents in that particular country without taking all of those data out. And this has also been regulated. And we really have weeping inventions. I remember a particular conference I went for. Now, artificial intelligence is already mimicking the synapses of human brain. They now have an artificial intelligence that can actually build human beings that can mimic just by getting their DNAs. So regulatory compliance also has to come into this because now they can now have a replica of a whole human being. So they were talking all about how regulatory compliance can actually come into these particular aspects. So the third one is the multi-cloud strategies, which regain popularity, requiring seamless cost optimization across platform. And when it also comes to multi-cloud, we have various organizations that they want to be cloud agnostic. They do not want to be tied to a particular CSP. So this is where containerization of all of the application tends to come in, whereby if they decide to leave a particular CSP because they are not really getting whatever they want, they can move overnight without being experiencing what we call the vendor lockdown. So this is why AWS is customer centric in ensuring that they give their customers the best value for their businesses, good return on investment. So in cases like this, our team can also come in to help you containerize all of your applications, and you can easily decide to move from wherever you are to anywhere you place to be. So finally, sustainability will also become a top priority, pushing businesses to optimize resources for environmental impact. We could actually see from all of these devices in trying to become environmental friendlier because of depletion of the ozone layer, the kind of materials that is going into production, ranging from smartphones and all of that. So that is also going to be a key factor that will be happening for this year. So staying ahead of these trends will certainly give you a competitive edge. So why choose CloudPlexo, your partner in cloud cost management? We really specialize in making cloud cost management simple and effective. Our tailored cost audits and optimization strategies are designed to fit your business needs. It's not one size fits all. we tend to conduct a detailed analysis of your business model, the solutions you are bringing into the market. We will conduct what we call an assessment, which is actually the first stage to understand exactly where you are. You could be on premises, you could be on other CSPs, and we do a thorough and a detailed analysis of your current IT infrastructure. Then we then come up with a comprehensive business document showing you exactly where you are and where you can possibly be. And after giving you all of this information, so that means you have enough data for you to be able to make a kind of an actionable insight for you to say, okay, based on this data, based on this current infrastructure that we are currently working on, I think we are really losing a whole lot of resources by not leveraging on this. But if we decide to move to AWS, we can leverage on data and analytics. We can monetize all of these information that we are gathering and all of that. So with that, you can then decide to move to the next stage, which is called the proof of concept. With the proof of concept, we get you loads of credits for you to run test any of these things, maybe on premises, before you then decide that, yes, I think this solution is actually working for us. If you want to leverage on artificial intelligence, as I remember one particular company that we are dealing with in the eastern part of Africa, they are wanting to use facial recognition for students that when they are reading, if they get distracted. Um, for instance, a particular student would, let's say they have several subjects that they are actually enrolled in. The performances that they get from them, these artificial intelligence will be able to determine that I think this particular person, because it's called higher in so section in their biology, this person will be good for medical lab sciences. And if the person actually scores very high, they could actually predict that this person would be very, very good in medicine or pharmacist and all of that. So there is a whole lot of things that we could possibly leverage on artificial intelligence that our team can actually come up, build a business statement for you, and then we table it to AWS, and AWS will then swing in to help you in provisioning on all of this. So when you now feel that I think the solution is exactly where we need to be, and you've run tested all of this in a staging environment, you can then decide to move it to a production environment. That is when you start paying for all of those resources. So starting from the assessment to the proof of concept, getting loads of credit to run test all of this in a staging environment, this is what CloudPlexo are bringing to the table for you in order to change the way you do businesses. So from this, in terms of cost reduction, we are talking from reserved instances to FinOps implementation. We also offer end-to-end support as AWS Advanced and Consulting Partner, and we have been able to help several organizations achieve cost efficiency and scalability. So we are really looking forward to you partnering with us. So if you have any questions, please, you can drop it in the question section. So it's now time for you to ask your questions. So, and that is open for you. So I believe we really covered a lot today. And now I believe it's your turn. So please make use of the question and answer panel to ask any questions you have about cloud cost management, financial strategies, or anything we've discussed. And we will address this as possible as we can. And during the remaining time, please don't hold back your questions, which might help others as well. Thank you so much for listening to us. I'll be handing over to Dave. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a fantastic presentation on the 2025 Cloud Financial Management Outlook. Can we say thank you to Israel in the chat box? While your presentation was on, we had a couple of questions come in. Our solutions architect have tried to address these questions, but I don't know if he can still turn on his video and mic to just address so that everyone can see it at once. Oyetunji, can you just shed more light on that question, please? Please read the question first.
Yeah, okay. The question states, in the situation where the data residency policy couldn't permit the client's data to be hosted offshore, How did CloudPlexo handle that? Did CloudPlexo rely on another third party within the jurisdiction, or how was that executed? Right. So for the data residency policy, AWS understand that. AWS has like 12 regions, if I can remember, and in those regions are located in some countries. For data residency, AWS has local zones, but in Africa, apart from the region that they have in South Africa, they have a local zone in Johannesburg and a local zone in Nigeria. So the other local zone that they have in Africa now is in Nairobi, but that is not yet announced. But it's available, but it's not announced yet. So hopefully this 2025 it's going to be announced. I don't know if that answers the question from Michael.
Fantastic. So there are local zones all over. Well, okay, Michael has replied saying that your question has been answered.
Okay.
All right. So that looks like we've had a good question. Someone asked, mention the costs kindly. So I'm not sure which cost it means, but do you understand what it means?
Um, Mention the cost. Like actually, I don't understand this question. The cost of, is it the server or the cost of the local zone or the cost of what exactly? So
I don't know if you can just give an idea of how costs come about. Say, are the costs more in closer zones or farther zones? While we wait for Cindy to clarify his question.
okay, so it depends on the region where, or let me say the local zone, or the country where your workload is hosted. You know, the way they pay taxes and some other things are different across countries, right? So AWS will definitely base the cost of running those servers on the cost of hosting the infrastructure in that particular country, right? So the cost of running servers is different across regions and local zone, right? So let me use Nigeria local zone as an example, right? So the cost of running the server in the South Africa region is cheaper compared to the local zone in Nigeria, and the cost of running the server in the South Africa region is cheaper. I mean, is more expensive than the island region, and the one in the Northern Virginia region is cheaper compared to the one on the island. So it depends on the location. I mean, the region that you're putting your resources. That's what determines the cost that you'll be paying for service.
Okay, Cindy, if you are able to talk, we can give you some 30 seconds to clarify yourself if you're willing to do so. But it looks like Oyetunji has done a decent job explaining the cost implications across regions. I'd like to,
I think he commented, okay, Kenya, maybe he's looking at the cost of running servers in the Kenya local zone. So, you know, as I said in the response to your question, I said the Kenya local zone is still not yet announced, though it's available. If you open the link that I put in the chat, you'll see there that they are available. There are local zones that are already available, like the local Lagos local zone and some other local zone in some countries, and you'll see the announced section of that in that link. There are some local zones that they've been announced already, though they've not started operation. So part of them is the local zone in Nairobi, Kenya. Hopefully this year they're going to announce the start of operation in that local zone. Yeah, hopefully.
hopefully it's gonna be announced, and we hope that
Yeah.
that will be announced as soon as possible. All right, so we have just about 30 seconds or 1 minute. We want to see if we can squeeze
Okay,
it.
so I think there is a question here that how many corporate bodies has AWS been implemented in Africa? If I'm being honest, I can say these how many corporate bodies because there is a whole lot of them, right? So even in big banks, yeah, across countries, they leverage AWS, right? So whole lot of countries like that. I mean, whole lot of enterprises leverage AWS. Maybe they are running SAP. Maybe you're running their ERP system. Let me just say ERP system as a general. So um, most corporate bodies, right, when they are going to cloud, they leverage AWS, a whole lot of them. So I can say this is the number of corporate bodies that has adopted AWS, but there's a lot of them.
A whole lot of them. A whole lot of them. Thank you so much, Oyetunji, for that fantastic attempt at answering all questions presented. We're still taking questions, but meanwhile, if we just do a recap, this has been the Cloud Cost and Financial Management session hosted by CloudPlexo. We started by introducing Israel as well as Oyetunji, and Israel has gone on to give us the outlook for cloud financial management. It talked about the cost drivers, talked about the insights as to what is seen moving forward, development in generative AI, machine learning, things that are influencing cloud costs going forward, using over provisioning, under provisioning, and how to take care of this. He went on to introduce us to different case studies where this cloud optimization have been done in fintech and in banking and finance. And then Tunji also came to give us insight as to how local zone can help you stay relevant and stay compliant with your government's laws. And most of the questions that we've had going forward have been related to local zones. So I see it's a very key thing. Most governments these days are instituting laws that we have to be compliant with, ensuring that data is resident in the countries where they operate. We do not get to share data with countries where it's not supposed to be. It's a very worthy concern, and AWS has also put this into consideration. So if you want your data in a particular zone, it's possible on AWS, and you can do that while also taking care of cost. All right, and so I don't think there's any more questions. We're glad you've been able to stay up till now. This is CloudPlexo. CloudPlexo, we do a lot of interesting stuff, helping businesses across different regions, enterprise businesses, startups, and SMBs in navigating the cloud landscape. And we'll be doing many more events moving forward. If you register through the original link, you're going to likely get our future events. If you have not registered, the link to register would be somewhere in the chat, but if you can memorize it, it's just bit.ly/CFM25, bit.ly/CFM25. So if you register, you're going to get access to the recording and any other resources we need to put across going forward. And you also get access to our upcoming events. We have events scattered around Africa and beyond coming on, and we're going to intimate you on this event in the nearest time. All right, and so with that, we've come to the end of our cloud financial management session. We thank you all for joining us, and until our next event, we say that it's not bye-bye, but bye for now. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful 2025 in the cloud landscape. Bye-bye.
Good job, Israel.
Yes, team. I think what only.
It's only stuff.
All right. Good luck, everybody. Thank you so much for the webinar. How was the webinar, everyone? Give your ratings in the chat. How was it? Over 10.
8/10.
8 over
One to
10.
10, 10 over
Yes.
10.
Thank you. I think we did really great. It was our first webinar this year, so we've learned a lot, and we're also appreciative of these steps we've taken to get here. Look, and I feel like it looked very professional and very tush. So she's like very corporate, which I really liked. Thank you everyone for joining the call. We can disperse now and focus on our other activities. Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you so much, marketing team, and also Mr. Israel. Thank you so much.